Stop everything you are doing right now, because what just happened at the 2026 World Baseball Classic is not something the baseball world was prepared for, and the man responsible for it has not even played his first official tournament game yet. Before a single pool play pitch has been thrown for Team USA, Aaron Judge has already changed the entire atmosphere of this tournament. He walked into that Team USA facility, stood in front of the most talented American roster ever assembled for a World Baseball Classic, and said words that made grown men, MVPs, Cy Young winners, All-Stars go completely silent and then completely electric at the same time. This is not hype. This is not pre-tournament media noise. This is the moment that the 2026 WBC stopped being a tournament and became a mission. And if you want every detail, the speech, the exhibition dominance, the insider reactions, the historical weight of what is unfolding right now in March 2026, stay right here, because this story is happening in real time, and it is already bigger than anything this tournament has seen in years. And if you are new here, hit that subscribe button right now and ring that bell, because we are covering the 2026 WBC from the inside out, and the next 3 weeks are going to produce moments that baseball will be talking about for the next 20 years. Let's start from the very beginning, because to understand why Aaron Judge's presence at the 2026 World Baseball Classic is sending shockwaves through the entire international baseball community, you have to understand what happened in 2023 and why it left a wound in American baseball that is not fully healed in 3 years. The 2023 World Baseball Classic Final, Team USA versus Japan, Lone Depot Park in Miami, the most watched WBC game in the tournament's history. The United States came into that game as the favorite, with a loaded roster and the momentum of a dominant tournament run, and they lost. They lost in heartbreaking fashion, 3-2, to a Japanese team that played flawless baseball in the moments that mattered most. The final out was recorded, the celebration belonged to Japan, and Team USA walked off that field carrying a loss that stung in a specific, lasting way, because they had the talent to win, they had the opportunity to win, and they did not win. Aaron Judge was not on that 2023 roster. He had just signed the largest contract in Yankees history, 9 years, $360 million, and chose to prioritize his health and preparation for the MLB season over the WBC. It was a reasonable decision. It was a defensible decision, but it meant that the question of what Aaron Judge could do on the international stage remained completely unanswered. And it meant that when Team USA fell to Japan in that final, the absence of their most powerful hitter was part of the conversation about why. 3 years passed. Judge won the American League MVP award in 2024. He won it again in 2025. He became a 3-time AL MVP. He became, by virtually every measure available, the best hitter in baseball on the planet. And when the 2026 WBC roster was being assembled, he was the first player to commit. Not one of the first, the first. Before the roster was complete, before the coaching staff had finalized their plans, before anyone else had said yes, Aaron Judge raised his hand and said he was in. That decision sent a signal through American baseball that was understood immediately. This was not a player going through the motions of international participation. This was a player who had watched 2023 from the outside, felt the loss even without being in that dugout, and decided that 2026 was going to be different. The commitment was total. The motivation was personal. And when a player of Judge's standing makes that kind of commitment, it changes the environment around him before he has thrown a single warm-up throw. The Team USA camp opened in Arizona at Papago Sports Complex in Phoenix, and the roster that assembled there was the most decorated collection of American baseball talent ever gathered for a World Baseball Classic. 30 players, 65 combined All-Star Game selections, 4 players with MVP awards on their resumes. Both of the 2025 Cy Young Award winners, Paul Skenes of the Pittsburgh Pirates and Tarik Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, were on that roster. Bryce Harper was there, Bobby Witt Jr. was there, Gunnar Henderson, Cal Raleigh, Pete Crow Armstrong, Byron Buxton. The list of names read like a fantasy baseball lineup constructed with no budget restrictions. And at the center of it all was Aaron Judge, named team captain, a designation that meant something specific and significant. This was not an honorary title. Judge was the acknowledged leader of this group, the player around whom the team's identity and purpose was being built, the man who would stand in front of this roster and set the tone for everything that followed. Manager Mark DeRosa in the Team USA organization understood that the presence they needed in that leadership role was not just about baseball ability, it was about character, about commitment, about the ability to make the people around you better through the quality of how you show up every single day.
Judge did not disappoint on the first day of camp. He had not been planning to make a speech. That detail matters, because what happened next was not scripted or prepared or managed for media consumption. It was genuine. Tarik Skubal and Paul Skenes, two of the most accomplished pitchers in the sport, had reached out to Judge during the offseason and told him that the team needed to hear from him when camp opened. They saw something in him that they wanted the rest of the roster to feel, and so when the team gathered for their first workout, Judge stood up. What he said in that room became the most discussed moment in baseball in the days that followed. He told that room full of MVPs and All-Stars and Cy Young winners that they were, in his words, uncensored, the hardest-working players in the game. He told them the room had a presence. He told them about the USA hockey teams at the 2026 Winter Olympics winning gold and how the entire Team USA group chat had been buzzing about it. He told them the energy in that room was different from anything he had felt, and he told them with the direct, undiluted clarity of a captain who had been thinking about this moment for 3 years, "We are going to kick Brazil's ass, and then we're going to go on to the next one." Manager DeRosa watched it happen and described the effect immediately. "When it comes from a peer," he said, "it carries more weight." In the peer delivering it was the 3-time American League MVP, the man who had hit 62 home runs in a single season, the player that the entire baseball world acknowledges as the best hitter alive. The weight of those words in that room was not the weight of a speech. It was the weight of 3 years of motivation, delivered in 2 minutes of honest, unmanaged, completely authentic leadership. The response from the roster was everything the organization had hoped for. Players who had been professional and focused going into camp suddenly found a different gear. The chemistry that coaching staff spend entire careers trying to manufacture appeared in that Arizona facility within days of camp opening. Not because anyone forced it, but because the captain had established the terms of engagement and the entire roster had accepted those terms immediately and completely. The exhibition games came next, and Aaron Judge used them to deliver a very specific message to every pitching staff in the 2026 WBC field that would eventually have to face him. In Team USA's exhibition against the San Francisco Giants, the Americans won 15-1. Dominant, complete, a statement of offensive firepower that exceeded even the expectations created by the roster's credentials. The very next game, against the Colorado Rockies, Judge stepped to the plate in the first inning, took the third pitch he saw from Kyle Freeland, and hit it 453 feet with an exit velocity of 115.9 miles per hour. The ball was gone before the fielder had processed what happened. The Rockies game ended with Team USA winning 14-4. 453 feet, 115.9 miles per hour exit velocity in an exhibition game against Major League pitching as a warm-up. The reaction inside the baseball world to those numbers was immediate. Exit velocity at 115.9 miles per hour represents contact quality that puts the ball in a category where defensive positioning is essentially irrelevant. There is no shift, no alignment, no positioning strategy that changes what happens to a baseball hit that hard in that direction. The distance of 453 feet in an exhibition context, without the adrenaline of a tournament game, without the competitive pressure of a must-win situation, told every coaching staff preparing to face Team USA exactly what their pitchers would be dealing with when the game started counting. The international reaction was equally significant. Japan, the defending WBC champions, were watching closely.
Their pitching staff preparation for a potential later-round matchup with Team USA was already being discussed in Japanese baseball media with a level of seriousness and analytical depth that reflected the understanding that Aaron Judge in a tournament environment is a different category of problem than anything their pitchers had faced in regular WBC preparation. Dominican Republic coaches acknowledged the offensive threat openly in their own media. Teams across the entire WBC field were adjusting their pitching strategies based on what they were seeing from Judge in exhibition play, which means that before the tournament had officially started, he was already changing the tactical calculus of every other national team in the field. The historical context of what Team USA is attempting in 2026 adds another dimension to everything Judge is doing. The United States has won the World Baseball Classic only once, in 2017. They came agonizingly close in 2023 before the Japan loss in the final. The pressure to deliver in 2026, after 3 years of that 2023 wound staying open, is unlike anything this program has carried into a WBC tournament in its history. The roster is the best the country has ever assembled, the motivation is the most acute it has ever been, and the captain, carrying his own 3-year weight to answer the international question, is bringing a personal dimension of purpose to this tournament that elevates everything around him. Team USA opens its pool play campaign on Friday, March 6th against Brazil in Houston. The schedule then takes them through Great Britain on March 7th, Mexico on March 9th, and Italy on March 10th, all Pool B games that will determine their quarterfinal positioning. The bracket is designed to eventually bring the best teams together, and every team in this tournament that has been watching what Aaron Judge and Team USA have shown in exhibition play understands what that eventual meeting could look like. The players around Judge on this roster are not passengers. Paul Skenes, at 23 years old, is already being discussed as one of the most electric pitching talents the sport has produced in a generation. A power arm with premium stuff across every pitch in his arsenal, performing in his first WBC with the confidence of a veteran. Tarik Skubal, coming off back-to-back Cy Young caliber seasons, gives Team USA a 1-2 pitching combination at the top of their rotation that rivals any pitching partnership in the tournament field. Bryce Harper, a 2-time MVP himself, brings a competitive ferocity that complements Judge's leadership rather than competing with it. Bobby Witt Jr., Gunnar Henderson, Cal Riley, the lineup has no obvious soft spots, no relief from the pressure for opposing pitching staffs, no place to breathe. But Judge is the center of gravity. He is the player that changes the mathematical reality of facing this lineup. A manager who decides to pitch around him runs into Harper, in Witt, in Riley. A manager who decides to attack him runs into the reality of what that 453-foot exhibition homer represented. There is no comfortable solution. There is no clean answer. And that problem, multiplied across multiple games in a single elimination tournament format where one mistake ends your World Baseball Classic, that is the position that Aaron Judge has put every opposing manager in before his tournament has even officially begun. The 2026 World Baseball Classic has started. Pool play is underway. Team USA's campaign is hours away from its first pitch, and the player who sat out 2023, who watched that Japan loss from outside the dugout, who was the first to commit to this roster and the first to stand in front of it and speak, that player is ready. He told them what the mission was. He showed them in exhibition play what the execution looks like. He accepted the captaincy, the pressure, the expectation, and the history of 3 years of American WBC frustration, and he has made it look like exactly the kind of weight he was born to carry. USA's domination is not just beginning, it has already started. In the baseball world, every coaching staff, every pitching rotation, every national team that worked through qualifying to get to this tournament already knows it. The only question left is how complete that domination will be.